A bankrupt black businessman gives a ride to a hitchhiker without knowing that she is a billionaire on being chased. The flashlight beam cut through the darkness like a blade. "Are you sure you didn't see a blonde woman pass by here?" The man's voice was calm, but his eyes weren't. They scanned every inch of the dented Toyota like it was hiding a body. Which, technically, it was. Micah Lowell gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, heart thudding in his chest. "Like I said, officer, I'm just here fixing a flat." He forced a smile. Didn't see anyone. Behind him, the trunk creaked slightly too slight for the agent to notice, but loud enough for Micah's stomach to drop. Three men stood in the glow of their SUV headlights, suits crisp, faces unreadable. Not cops. Private. Dangerous. The kind of men who don't ask twice. After a tense pause, the lead man straightened. "You should get that tire fixed, sir." "We will," Micah said quickly. They vanished back into the night. A moment later, the trunk popped open. She climbed out slowly, her blonde hair a tangled mess, mud streaking her $800 leggings. Her breath came fast, hands trembling as she shut the trunk behind her. "Are they gone?" Micah nodded, still in disbelief. "What the hell did I just get myself into?" The girl extended a shaky hand. "I'm Eden," she said, eyes fierce. "And I just started a war." "No." 3 years ago, Micah Lowell had been sipping champagne on a private jet, watching Alaritech's valuation tick past $180 million. Now, he was sipping lukewarm gas station coffee in the front seat of a rusting Toyota Camry, wondering if he could make rent on the storage unit he was illegally living in. The fall hadn't been slow. It was a free fall. Micah had built Alaritech from nothing, an AI healthcare startup that promised diagnostic tools for underfunded hospitals. Investors praised him. Magazines featured him. They called him a disruptor. A visionary. A black genius. Until they found out who was really in charge. It started with silence. Then came delays. Then the largest investor, a legacy venture firm in Boston, pulled out just days before the company's Series C funding round, citing internal concerns. 3 weeks later, his tech was absorbed by a competitor, one run by a white founder with far fewer credentials. Micah knew it wasn't a coincidence. His name disappeared from the headlines. His company vanished from the map. His bank accounts froze under the weight of legal fees and debt. He sold his apartment. Then his car. Then his watch. Now, at 39, he delivered packages for a courier app, dodging calls from collection agencies, still wearing the tailored blazer from his last investor pitch, now faded and threadbare. It was just another night, just another highway. Then she appeared. He'd spotted her on the side of Route 48, thumb out, sweatshirt too clean to match the mud-caked sneakers on her feet. She didn't speak much when she got in, just said her name was Elle, and she needed a ride south. He should have known something was off when she kept checking the rearview mirror more than he did. 10 minutes later, the black SUV appeared. "Pull over," she whispered. "Please, just trust me." Against all logic, Micah pulled off the road and told her to get in the trunk. And now, here they were hunted, breathless, hearts pounding under the night sky. He looked at her again, still stunned by her presence. Whoever this girl was, she wasn't ordinary. And Micah Lowell wasn't ready for how far this rabbit hole would go. They drove in silence for miles, the only sound the hum of tires and the occasional rustle as Eden shifted in her seat, glancing nervously behind them. Micah could feel her tension like static in the air. Every mile they traveled without headlights felt like a gamble. Every fork in the road, a decision with no map. "You gonna tell me what this is really about?" he finally asked. Eden didn't answer right away. She was staring out the window, her fingers absent-mindedly rubbing something in the pocket of her jacket. "They're not police," she said. "The men chasing me." "No kidding. They're private security, my father's." Micah blinked. "Your dad sends men in black suits to chase you across the state?" "I stole something from him," she said softly. "Something dangerous." Micah exhaled slowly. "Okay, that's vague as hell." Eden pulled out a silver flash drive, its metallic surface glinting under the dashboard lights. "Everything's on here, contracts, emails, videos. Stuff that could burn him to the ground." "And your father is?" She hesitated, then said it. "Russell Ray." Micah almost slammed the brakes. "You mean Raycor Defense? That Russell Ray?" She nodded. Micah stared ahead, hands frozen on the wheel. Raycor wasn't just any defense contractor, it was the defense contractor. Billions in government funding. International arms deals. Secret facilities. Untouchable. And Eden had just dropped a nuclear bomb into his passenger seat. "My father isn't just corrupt," she continued. "He's dangerous. You have no idea what he's done." Who he's paid. Who he's killed. The last word landed like a punch. Micah's jaw tightened. Then why are you giving this to me? Because I don't know who else to trust, she said. And because your company Elora Tech, it didn't fail because of the market. He glanced at her. What are you talking about? She looked down. I've seen the files. Raycor bought out your competitor. Funded a smear campaign against your tech. Scared off your investors. My father didn't want your software disrupting his contracts. Had destroyed you. Micah felt something primal rise in his chest, grief, rage, vindication. All at once. You're saying, he targeted me? I'm saying, Eden whispered, your downfall was never an accident. The car went quiet again. Micah didn't say anything. He just gripped the wheel tighter, a new fire building in his gut. This wasn't just about helping some rich girl on the run. This was about justice. About truth. And maybe, just maybe, about revenge. They pulled off the road just before sunrise, parking behind a decrepit storage facility Micah used to crash at when gas money ran out. Inside, the single bulb overhead flickered as he powered up his battered old laptop, booting a hidden Linux partition Eden had never seen before. She handed him the flash drive with shaking hands. Whatever happens after this, she said, you can't unsee it. Micah didn't respond. His fingers were all flying across the keyboard. The files opened like a trapdoor into hell. Hundreds of folders. All labeled with chilling clarity. Theta 6 trials. Z compound. Foreign disbursements. Collateral management. He clicked into a folder named confidential footage. The screen showed a grainy video. A military testing site. Men in hazmat suits. A cage. Something moving inside it. Then screaming. Dozens of test subjects collapsed one by one as gas hissed into the chamber. Blood. Convulsions. A timer on the corner of the video marked the exposure window, 2 minutes, 41 seconds. This is bioweapons testing, Micah said, his voice hollow. Eden nodded, eyes glazed with guilt. Raycor developed a pathogen that can mimic Ebola symptoms but disappears after 72 hours. No trace. No liability. And they tested it on people? He asked, barely containing his disgust. They were prisoners, she said. Undocumented. Disposable. Micah slammed the laptop shut. You need to go to the press. The feds. Someone. I can't, Eden said. They've all been bought. My father has people in DOJ, Homeland, even the media. Micah paced the room, trying to make sense of the scale. Why now? Why'd you run? She hesitated. Then reached into her jacket and pulled out a small leather envelope. Inside was a photograph. A young black man in a lab coat, smiling beside a whiteboard filled with equations. Micah froze. It was Julian. His younger brother. He worked at Raycor's Arizona lab, Eden said. He tried to blow the whistle 2 years ago. Then there was a lab accident. He was listed as a casualty in a methane explosion. Micah's legs gave out. He dropped into a fold chair like he'd been hit in the chest. He was never in an accident, Eden continued. They silenced him. I found his name in the internal blacklist. Target neutralized. For a moment, the world spun. Julian had followed in Micah's footsteps, brilliant, idealistic, believing tech could heal the world. He joined Raycor with the hope of refining it from within. And they'd killed him for it. You knew him, Micah whispered. I did more than that, Eden said softly. I loved him. Micah stared at her. The girl in the trunk. The daughter of the man who destroyed his life. The woman who once loved his brother. You kept this from me? I was trying to protect you, she said. I didn't know if you'd help me if you knew the truth. Micah stood slowly, fists clenched, eyes burning. We're not running anymore. What are you going to do? He looked at the laptop. At the flash drive. At Julian's photo. I'm going to burn Raycor to the ground. The road curved sharply into the hills, a forgotten trail paved with broken branches and tire-killing rocks. Eden gripped the side of her seat as the Camry rattled along, the rising sun barely cutting through the canopy of trees. Where are we going? Micah asked, his voice tight. A place my father forgot existed, Eden replied. He bought it under a shell company 15 years ago, part of a real estate scam that never launched. You sure no one will find us there? If they do, she said, we're already dead. After another 10 minutes of jarring silence, they reached it, a small wooden cabin swallowed by vines and wild grass, hidden deep in the forest like a secret someone once tried to erase. Inside, it was dust and cobwebs. A fireplace long unused. A cracked photo frame of a woman with kind eyes holding a baby Eden and her mother. Micah looked around warily. You grew up here? My mother brought me here once when I was little, Eden said quietly. Before she vanished. Vanished? My father said she died of an aneurysm. Closed casket. No one questioned it. Eden's voice cracked. But I always knew something was wrong. Micah didn't speak. He set the laptop down on the table and plugged in the flash drive again. But Eden didn't look at the files. She was staring at the floorboards, lost in another time. You love Julian, Micah said suddenly, not accusing, just stating what now felt obvious. Eden nodded slowly. I met him when I was 19. He was everything my world wasn't: gentle, brilliant, honest. We kept it a secret. My father would have disowned me if he knew I was seeing a black man. Micah's jaw clenched, but he didn't interrupt. He told me things, she continued. About the lab. About the test failures. About how he feared someone was using his work for weapons. He tried to convince me to run with him, to leak the data. She paused. I said no. Micah blinked. You said no? I was scared, Eden admitted. I didn't believe him. I thought he was exaggerating. I told my father. Micah stepped back like he'd been struck. You told him? Tears welled up in her eyes. I didn't know what he'd do. I thought he'd fire Julian, blacklist him, maybe. But not. She couldn't finish the sentence. Micah looked away, heart pounding. The image of Juliana's little brother, the kid with the telescope and the dream of being a scientist, flickered through his mind like a flame in wind. I was the reason he died, Eden whispered. And I've spent every day since trying to make it right. Silence filled the room like smoke. Finally, Micah turned to her. I should hate you, he said. I know. I should leave you here to rot. I wouldn't blame you. He stared at her. Then at the flash drive. Then at Julian's face on the laptop screen. But I won't, he said quietly. Because he loved you. And because I'm done letting your father win. Eden wiped her face with her sleeve. So what do we do now? Micah's voice was steady. Cold. We find someone who knows how to make this public and untouchable. The knock on the motel room door was soft, but precise. 3 taps, then 2. Micah opened it without a word. Helena Cruz stepped inside like she'd been expecting a war. 42, Latina, sharp as broken glass in the courtroom. Her curly hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her briefcase looked like it had seen more battlefields than boardrooms. She scanned the room, the rust-stained carpet, the glitching television, the laptop perched on a plastic chair, then looked at Micah. You better be telling me this is worth my time, she said flatly. Micah handed her the flash drive. 10 minutes later, she stopped breathing. This isn't just corporate fraud, she muttered. This is war crimes. Bioterrorism. Human experimentation. We know, Eden said softly. Helena stared at her. And you're? Aiden Ray. Helena blinked. As in Russell Ray's daughter? Aiden nodded. Well, damn, Helena said. You really are trying to get killed. Micah leaned forward. Can we make this stick? Helena nodded slowly. With the right framing, yes. But we need redundancy. Backups. And someone who can outsmart Raycor's digital countermeasures. They'll try to bury this the second it leaks. I know someone. Helena added after a moment. But he doesn't come cheap. Or sober. 2 hours later, they were in the back room of a used comic book store that smelled like incense and stale coffee. A heavy curtain led to a soundproof den lit by LED strips and a dozen glowing monitors. Sage and Nick's, a non-binary cybersecurity savant with a dragon tattoo wrapping around their shaved skull, was typing faster than most people could think. Helena, they said, not looking up. If this is another phishing scandal, I'm charging double. This is different, Helena said, handing over the flash drive. Sage plugged it in and immediately sat up straight. Whoa! This is not normal. No, Eden said. It's nuclear. Sage started pulling up layers, metadata, encryption, hidden scripts. Your dad's ops are clean. No IP trails, no server traces. Whoever he hired to build this system knew their shit. But not better than you, right? Micah asked. Sage grinned. Not unless they were me in another life. Within 20 minutes, they had decrypted the core of the archive and created mirrored backups on decentralized networks. Then came the next step, packaging the evidence in a way the public and, more importantly, federal agencies had to acknowledge. We need a platform, Helena said. We'll submit the data to 3 legal bodies at once. Department of Justice, International Criminal Court, and the UN Special Rapporteur for Bioethics. And we need a pressure valve, Sage added. A public-facing site to dump the sanitized version videos, emails, financial links. Something journalists can grab onto without tripping national security alarms. I can help, Eden said. I still have credentials. My father created emergency master access for the family. In case of a breach. Sage looked at her. You're sure? I've used it once before, she said, quietly. He never knew. Helena crossed her arms. Then we have our team. But we're not enough. Micah looked at all of them, Helena, the seasoned fighter, Sage, the digital ghost, Eden, the betrayer-turned whistleblower. Then we find more, he said. Because we're not just going after Russell Ray. He leaned forward, voice low. We're going after everyone who let him get this far. Rain blurred the windshield as Eden adjusted her wig in the rearview mirror. In the passenger seat, Sage double-checked the transmitter frequencies on their tablet, while Helena monitored security feeds from a laptop balanced on her knees. You have a 10-minute window, Sage said. Maybe 12 if the guard at Checkpoint 2's still addicted to TikTok. Eden adjusted her voice to a lower register and looked at Micah in the back seat. If I don't come back in 15. We're coming in after you, Micah cut in. No debate. Eden gave a faint smile. I'm starting to understand why Julian trusted you. Micah didn't smile back. He just nodded once, tight. Eden stepped out of the car into the storm and walked briskly toward the rear loading dock of Raycor's northern complex. She scanned in using an outdated ID badge Sage had reprogrammed and walked through the metal detector like a ghost from the past. Inside, everything looked the same. Sterile. Silent. Unquestioned power humming beneath polished floors. She moved with purpose, her stolen credentials leading her through maintenance corridors until she reached server room 4AA, location she remembered from childhood tours. Sage's voice crackled in her earpiece. You're in. Hook into port 7B. It'll give me root access. She reached behind the server cabinet, fingers trembling, and slid the transmitter into place. The LED turned green. Transmission live, Sage said. 10 minutes and counting. But just as Eden turned to leave, she heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Determined. Coming from the main corridor. She ducked into a side lab, heart pounding, only to freeze when she saw the woman standing inside. Pale. Sharp boned. Familiar. Mum? The woman turned slowly, eyes wide. Eden. Everything stopped. Celeste raided for over a decade. Or so Eden had believed. Her mother stepped forward, tears forming instantly. Two thought they got you out, Celeste whispered. They told me you died, Eden gasped. He said, an aneurysm. Celeste nodded bitterly. Russell staged it. I tried to expose what he was doing. He threatened to kill you if I didn't disappear. Where have you been? Hiding. Working with a protection group. We've been tracking Raycor for years. But I could never get close again. Until now. Eden's earpiece crackled. Eden? We've got 5-minute status? Change of plan, Eden whispered, eyes locked on her mother. We have an ally inside. Celeste stepped forward, pulled a keycard from a lanyard under her lab coat. I have level 7 access. This will get you into the archive vault. You mean the secure logs? Celeste nodded. The black box. Russell stores his worst secrets there. Failures. Body counts. Names. Eden hesitated, then took the card. Outside, sirens began to wail. Time's up, Sage shouted. Security breach reported on level 2. Go. Celeste said, shoving Eden toward the hall. I'll misdirect them. I'm not leaving you again. You have to, her mother said, eyes burning. Or everything we've risked dies here. Eden sprinted out the door, weaving through hallways like a memory, dodging shadows and alarms until she reached the access point Sage had mapped out. She swiped Celeste's card. A heavy vault door slid open. Inside, a room full of hard drives. Labeled. Organized. Obscene. She grabbed what she could, stuffed it into her duffel, and bolted out through the maintenance exit where Micah was already waiting in the running car. You get it? He asked. She nodded, breathless. And? He added. I saw a ghost, she said, voice shaking. And she handed me the key to destroy my father. The ballroom at the Carlton Grand Hotel was a monument to corporate arrogance. Gold trim, chandeliers the size of small cars, and a custom stage bearing the Raycor Defense logo in crisp backlit letters. Russell Ray stood at the podium in a perfectly tailored Navy suit, flanked by senior executives, military brass, and government officials. He smiled for the cameras, completely unaware that his empire was about to crumble. This acquisition of Zentech Systems marks a new chapter, he declared. Raycor is proud to lead the world in responsible innovation. 3 blocks away, in a rented co-working space that smelled like cold pizza and conspiracy, Sage Onyx hit enter. Every television, smartphone, and livestream registered a sudden alert. Urgent. Classified documents expose Raycor defense scandal. A red banner appeared across news tickers. News anchors blinked in confusion as their teleprompters froze. At the Carlton, dozens of phones buzzed. Attendees began murmuring, glancing at their screens. Confusion rippled through the crowd. "What's going on?" Russell asked his assistant under his breath. Before she could answer, the ballroom's massive LED screen flickered and changed. First, the video of the Theta 6 trials. Screaming test subjects. Gas flooding a chamber. Timestamps. Coordinates. Gasps. Shouts. People rising to their feet. Then came the documents. Contracts showing illegal arms sales to embargoed nations. Financial records of bribes to regulators. Internal memos ordering neutralization of whistleblowers. Russell's face drained of color. "This is a hack," he barked. "Shut it down." But the feed was beyond local control. Sage had wired into 3 global cloud redundancies and scheduled time-delayed reposts across mirror networks. Micah and Helena watched from the rear of the ballroom, hidden in plain sight. Then the final blow landed. A pre-recorded video appeared on the screen. "Eden Ray. My name is Eden Ray," she said, eyes locked on the camera. "I am the daughter of Russell Ray. And today, I am choosing the truth over silence." She detailed the experiments. The attacks. The false flag cover-ups. The names of victims, Julian Lowell among them. "I have no illusions. I may not survive this," she continued. "But silence is no longer acceptable. My father does not represent me. He does not represent justice. And he certainly does not represent this country." Back in the ballroom, Russell roared, "This is treason." Helena stepped forward and flashed a badge. "Mr. Ray, this is not treason. This is evidence. Helena Cruz, Special Counsel to the Congressional Oversight Committee. And I have a warrant." From both exits, federal agents entered the room. One approached Russell and began reading his rights. Another collected documents from his team. "You people have no idea who you're dealing with," Russell snarled. "I have friends in the Senate. In the Pentagon." "Not anymore," Helena said. "Check the news." Indeed, every network was now covering the scandal. Senatorial connections were named. Government contracts frozen. Stock markets in turmoil. Raycor shares were in freefall. Russell's gaze locked onto the back of the room. Micah stood there, calm, hands in his pockets. "You," Russell hissed. "You think this wins back your little startup?" Micah's voice was level. "This isn't about a company. This is about my brother. About everyone you buried to build your empire." Russell lunged but was restrained instantly by agents. As he was dragged away, he spat over his shoulder. "This isn't over," Micah replied, almost gently. "It was over the moment you chose profit over human life. They thought the worst was over. But empires don't fall without a fight." Less than 24 hours after the broadcast, headlines screamed across every major outlet. Raycor CEO arrested in bioweapon scandal. Congress launches emergency hearings. Daughter of defense tycoon breaks silence. For a brief moment, it felt like justice was inevitable. Then the retaliation began. First came the disinformation campaign. Dozens of fake accounts emerged overnight, spreading edited clips of Eden's video, suggesting it was AI-generated, a deepfake hoax. Then came the smear pieces. Tabloids claiming Eden had mental health issues, that she'd been manipulated by a jealous ex, that Micah was a disgruntled ex-employee trying to extort her father. Finally, they struck harder. At 3:17 a.m., Helena Cruz was abducted. She was walking to her car from a secure hotel when 2 men in construction uniforms pushed her into a van and disappeared into the night. Sage's digital alerts went berserk. Micah didn't hesitate. He and Eden traced her last signal to an abandoned warehouse outside the city. Inside, they found her bound, bruised, but alive. And on the wall behind her, a message sprayed in red paint. "Stay out. Next time, she dies." Helena was rushed to a safe house. But her voice, her legal power, was gone for now. Trauma and fear had replaced fire. "I shouldn't have dragged you into this," Eden whispered in the silence that followed. Micah shook his head. "You didn't drag anyone. We chose this." But I lit the match. And now you finish the fire." Eden knew what that meant. She had to go public again. But this time, live. Not a pre-recorded message. Not an edited statement. A real-time, high-stakes confrontation with the nation watching. Sage worked around the clock to create an untraceable live stream server. Meanwhile, Eden wrote and rewrote her statement. At exactly 8 p.m., she sat in front of a neutral background, wearing no makeup, No jewelry, just a plain white shirt and eyes that refused to blink. She stared straight into the camera. My name is Eden Ray. And this is not a deepfake. This is not a mental breakdown. This is a confession. She laid everything bare. The gas trials. The illegal deals. The judges on the payroll. The lives lost including Julian Lowell, her late lover, and the younger brother of the man now standing beside her. Then she said the words that made the world stop. I was complicit. The comment section froze. Viewers leaned in. I once believed my father's power could protect me from the truth. I was wrong. I kept secrets. I silenced doubt. I even betrayed someone I loved. And for that, I will never stop apologizing. She looked away. Only one said to Micah. Some truths are too heavy to carry alone, and too dangerous to bury. The stream ended after 11 minutes. No dramatic closing line. No dramatic music. Just silence. But that silence hit like thunder. Within hours, international watchdogs issued sanctions against Raycor. Whistleblowers across the country began to speak. The Justice Department formed a special task force. And Congress called for a bipartisan investigation into defense sector corruption. Back in their hideout, Eden finally broke down. Micah held her, not with pity but with respect. You didn't run, he said. I was tired of hiding, she whispered. Outside, for the first time in days, it rained not in storms, but in soft, steady rhythm. A cleansing. A reckoning. But even as the storm faded, they both knew the real fight was just beginning. 3 months after Russell Ray's arrest, the Raycor logo came down from its corporate headquarters in D.C. replaced by a banner that read, Under investigation, federal property, do not enter. The empire had collapsed like a house of lies in a windstorm. Senators resigned. Generals were indicted. Defense contracts were frozen. And Russell himself? Still awaiting trial at a federal detention facility in Virginia, denied bail for being a national flight risk. But outside that crumbling empire, something unexpected was blooming. In a downtown co-working space, now painted with murals of phoenixes and blueprints, a new name began to rise. Lucent Systems. It was Micah's rebirth, a nonprofit tech incubator designed exclusively for entrepreneurs of color, LGBTQ+ founders, and system-impacted innovators. He built it from the ashes of his broken stand with the funds recovered from the government's seizure of Raycor's illegal assets, which now funded a massive restitution program. 17 startups had already launched under Lucent's guidance. One, founded by a former Raycor lab assistant, developed non-lethal riot suppression tools to replace military-grade police equipment. Another, led by a formerly incarcerated coder, created AI-driven mental health support for underserved communities. Lucent wasn't just a business. It was a revolution in slow motion. Eden, for her part, didn't disappear into anonymity. She took charge of what was left of the Ray family fortune, selling off estates, offshore accounts, and luxury holdings to establish the Julian Lowell Reparations Foundation. The foundation's mission was clear: identify and fund organizations led by the same kinds of people her father had systemically silenced. I can't erase what I was born into, she said at the launch event. But I can repurpose every dollar to amplify voices my family once buried. At her side were Helena, now fully recovered and appointed as legal director of the foundation, and Sage, who had launched an open-source cyberethics curriculum under Lucent's umbrella. Together, they traveled the country speaking at universities, tech conferences, even United Nations panels. Micah didn't enjoy the spotlight. But he understood its power. When Forbes named him the most influential ethical innovator of the year, he accepted the title but used his speech to highlight the entrepreneurs Lucent had empowered. The goal, he said, was never to take power, it was to distribute it. One afternoon, as sunlight poured into the Lucent rooftop garden, Eden found Micah tending to a row of lavender plants. You're a long way from biotech, she teased. Julian always said lavender was nature's software, simple, elegant, functional. She sat beside him. Do you ever wonder, she asked, if we've done enough? Micah thought for a long moment. Enough to fix everything? Enough to change direction? Maybe. Eden looked at the horizon. You know what I remember most from that first night? The trunk? He smirked. The way you looked at Minot like I was some heiress, or a burden butt like I was human. He met her gaze. Because you were. They sat in silence, watching the world turn slowly below them. The story that had started with a broken man and a hunted woman now rested in the hands of dozen shundrads who were building something better. Not from power, but from a purpose. 3 years passed. On the rooftop of Lucent Systems' new headquarters, a solar-powered facility, built on the reclaimed grounds of a former Raycor testing site, Micah Lowell stood in a simple gray suit, watching the city breathe beneath the twilight. Around him, laughter echoed. Founders, engineers, students, dreamers. People who had once been shut out of the system now stood at the helm of its transformation. Mr. Lowell, an assistant called gently. Your interview with Global Tech Weekly starts in 5. Micah nodded, but didn't move right away. His eyes drifted toward the garden bench where Eden sat, speaking quietly with a young entrepreneur whose pitch had just been funded by the Julian Lowell Foundation. She looked up and caught his gaze, smiling the way someone does when they've finally come home. When the interview began, the host leaned forward, genuinely curious. Mr. Lowell, in just 3 years, you've helped launch over 20 startups. You've redefined inclusive innovation. But the question everyone wants to know is, how did this all begin? Micah paused. Then, with a half smile. It began in the middle of nowhere, with a flat tire, a scared woman in my trunk, and a decision I didn't fully understand at the time. He leaned in slightly. But that's how change happens, isn't it? Not all at once. Just a moment, a choice to help someone. To listen. To believe. Across the city, in a federal prison library, Russell Ray stared blankly at a monitor playing the same interview. The man who once owned everything now owned nothing but time. And as Micah's voice faded from the screen, one truth echoed louder than any verdict. You can burn down a kingdom with one match. But you rebuild the world by handing someone else the flame. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications, so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.